Mark Muller. The quick weather update for February 25th, 2013. Let's quickly take a look at the current winter weather advisories and warnings and blizzard warnings throughout the panhandle of Texas, extending through Kansas and Oklahoma City up through Kansas City, and extending winter storm warnings just south of Omaha and extending towards Iowa. This storm system across the southeast is spreading severe thunderstorms from Arkansas over to Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama, and this will continue to extend eastward throughout the evening hours. We will also see a good deal of winter weather up through as far as northeast as Michigan and the northeast, which we'll have good to further into during the next 24 to 48 hours. Let's get right into the system here in the northwest. We have a system that moved through. It's a weak system. The northwest and the west coast have been getting pretty much a break at this point. And here in the northeast we have high pressure in control across Florida. This is where we've got the stationary front snaking across the Gulf Coast, and the tornado watches extend across the Gulf Coast states for the possibility of severe thunderstorms that are continuing to roll across the southern states at this time. Let's take a look at the liquid precipitation amounts during the next 24 to 36 hours. We've got these thunderstorms that will produce anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of rain, 2 to 4 inches widespread with 3 to 6 inches locally, from east of Louisiana tonight all the way through the Carolinas, southern Georgia, northern Florida, and then liquid equivalent across the Ohio River Valley up to the northeast that could be on the order of a quarter to half an inch, with locally higher amounts to 3/4 of an inch likely, which equates to about 7.5 inches to 10 inches of snow. And we'll get into snowfall amounts here momentarily with the snowfall map. This is a major winter storm across the Oklahoma, Texas area and Kansas that is wrapping up. Severe winter weather can be expected with these blizzard warnings. So let's get right into the map, the scenario map. Let me step off the map. Actually, let me move over here to the right so I can show you the 12 to 18 inch strip of snowfall that we're going to see, with locally higher amounts of 2 feet possible from the panhandle of Texas all the way through just north of Oklahoma City. Some areas of the suburbs of Oklahoma City could see the 12 to 18 inches, extending up towards just north of Kansas City. Southern Kansas City areas could see upwards of 5 to 10 inches. Northern Kansas City, more amounts likely. And we stretch this system up through Chicago, 3 to 6 inches, widespread 3 to 6 inch amounts across the northeast, with 6 to 12 inches locally in the Adirondacks and the northern White Mountains at this point. This is this jet stream that you can see that's diving down just south of Dallas all the way to Detroit and heading up towards the southern provinces of Ontario and southern Quebec. This is where the orange shading is the concern for icing. We could be looking at a very significant ice storm across portions just west of Roanoke, Virginia, over to western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee, over to eastern West Virginia, and extending towards the central Pennsylvania area, the Laurel Highlands. This is where we could see 1/4 to possibly a half an inch of icing likely, with an inch or 2 of sleet. Across the southern tier of New York, that's where we'll see probably an inch or 2 of sleet before the changeover to 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain and then to rain on Wednesday. And that will extend over to the Catskills and southern New England area to Boston. It's where we get into northern Maine and the northern New Hampshire, northern Vermont, and the northern counties of northern upstate New York that we get into the 6 to 12 inch range, of course, all the way to Montreal and heading on into southern Quebec. So that's what we're looking at out of this system. Severe weather tomorrow across the area. Tuesday will extend across the Gulf Coast from just east of New Orleans over to Charleston, South Carolina, possibly as far north as Atlanta, Georgia, and extending down towards just north of Tampa, Florida. So that's what we're looking at for severe weather, and this system that's continuing to head, as you see, across the jet stream flow pattern. Temperatures during the next 4 days are going to look like this. We've got temperate temperatures out here in the west coast here, and we see of course, the higher elevations seeing the colder temperatures below 30 degrees, but along the coast we see 50s and 60s widespread. Desert Southwest looking mild in the 60s and low 70s. But then we head out east here, and that's where we get into the bouts of cold air heading across the Great Lakes. And it's not looking too cold at this point, so we're not going to see any significant cold air outbreaks, but just enough to get us into the mix of possible winter weather. And this will continue on into Thursday and Friday as well as we head across the area. The thing is the cold air damming that is going to occur. Let's take a look at the first frame. This is for Tuesday. You can see this wedge of cold air across the Appalachians, and that is where we're going to be looking at some problems, especially in those isolated valleys in the Appalachians that could get upwards of 3/4 to 1 inch of ice out of this storm. So we're going to continue to watch that for you. Other than that, we are watching a system for possibly the beginning of March that could ride up the East Coast, but the models are disagreeing slightly at this point, and there will be a more negative NAO index and a negative AO index. So we're going to be looking at the possibility of a very active March that could come in like a lion. So other than that, right now, we're going to continue to get through this first system for Tuesday and Wednesday, and we'll continue to assess the situation. As I said, if we take us back to the scenario of the icing, there is some models that are indicating a secondary low pressure development across the East Coast, and that could very well play into higher snowfall totals for southeastern New England. But at this time, I'm going to keep the dry slot that I'm meteorologist Mark Molnar. Like us on Facebook at MeteoMark. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Here's a 4-day forecast for my hometown viewers from Binghamton to Elmira and the northern tier counties of Pennsylvania.